Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this William J. and Maryann M. Christie Distinguished Lecture Series, Sacred Expressions, a conversation with artist Lalo Garcia. Before I make introductions, I want to extend a special thanks to Bill and Maryann Christie for making this event possible. Bill is an emeritus trustee and a 1961 graduate of Providence College. He and Maryann are the parents of 5, including 3 college graduates, Carrie, Emmett, and William Jr., and I think at least 1 granddaughter, Bridget, who graduated not too long ago. Bill and Maryann are joining us via live internet broadcast. We hope to have you both here soon in person and know that you always have a place here in Friartown. This event has sort of 2 components to it. Lalo wants to introduce you all a little bit to his work in this slideshow here, and then following that will be a conversation that will be moderated here on stage. And moderating that discussion is another member of our Board of Trustees, Marta Martinez. Marta is a double alumnus of Providence College, earning both her BA and her PhD here. And she also holds an MA in journalism from George Washington University. Marta serves as executive director of Rhode Island Latino Arts, the oldest Latino nonprofit arts organization in the state. Additionally, Marta is the founder of Nuestras Raíces, the Latino oral history project of Rhode Island, where it collects and preserves the stories of the Latino community, enriching the cultural landscape here in Rhode Island. Her work has garnered numerous accolades, including being recognized as one of the 24 people to watch in 2024 by the Providence Journal, and having received in June of 23 the Rhode Island Pell Award for Excellence in the Arts. Marta will be joined in that conversation with our special guest this afternoon, Lalo Garcia. Lalo is joining us from Los Angeles, but he was born in La Cienegita, Mexico, and raised in the San Fernando Valley. Lalo has dedicated over 35 years to the art world, focusing on how creative expression can reflect culture and faith. His deep love for his native culture and his commitment to preserving Mexican folklore shine through in his unique contributions. His art has found a permanent home in sacred spaces throughout Los Angeles in the United States, as well as having pieces exhibited in galleries and museums across the United States, Mexico, and Spain. Lalo has also designed, and I think this is going to be part of his presentation, has also designed vestments for Pope John Paul II in his 1987 visit to Los Angeles. Lalo is also the founder, director, and choreographer of the dance company Grupo Folklorico Fiesta Mexicana, which has, I butchered that terribly, which has performed throughout the United States and Mexico. And maybe we'll get a chance to see some of its work as part of this slide presentation. So as I turn the microphone over to Lalo, please join us in welcoming them both.
Muchísimas gracias por su presentación. Thank you all. Thank you, Pam, for reaching out to me. The invitation here to Providence College. I feel extremely honored being here. Share my story, share my work. I was telling Pam, this is only the 3rd time I do this. I don't do presentations like this, but so hopefully I won't confuse you as I go through the images. As I share information with them, dance and art has been my passion, my life, and sometimes I cross those lines very easily because they interact. But anyhow, I'll go through the images, and as they were saying, there will go some questions, and hopefully I won't disappoint you. So thank you for being here. I know that everybody has things to do. They have other commitments, and I appreciate and thank you for your presence this afternoon. I'll Right before this is like about 1971, but I'd just like to let you know that I was born in the state of Michoacan, very small village. I was brought to the States in 1965, went through junior high, high school. I don't know why I went there. I didn't speak any English, so I have no recollection of what I did those years. All I knew is I wanted to go back home. And drawing was my security blanket. Those were very difficult times. If you can remember the war in Vietnam, human rights movement, Chicano movement, it was a very, very difficult time that I was brought. So for me, the U.S. was not even a country; it was a different, it was a total different planet, you might say. So it was very difficult for me to do that. In any case. Graduated and I went to college, and in college, while taking a class in calligraphy, a sub gave me a card and gave me a card of a friend that had a sign shop in LA that had gone from New York, and I went to the shop and they kept me for a week. This is a picture of me in 1971 where I started doing lettering for the theater industry. And I stayed doing this kind of work for about 12 years. So I love to letter. I love the whole concept of lettering. So this is 1971 where I began just doing commercial work. In 1979, I joined my very first dance group. It was called Ballet Folklorico de María Luisa. It was a breather for me because every Tuesday and Thursday, I felt like I was back home, listening to my music, listening to my songs, starting to pick up the dances that I had learned back in Mexico. So it became very important for me. It was a way to survive all the crises that I was going through. Now that I had found art and I had found dance, so this was the very first group. These are some images of me dancing. I was young and performing a little bit here and there. In 1979, I founded my own group called Fiesta Mexicana. This is one of the programs that I did in 1982. The cover would become very important in later this presentation. This is my brother depicted as an Aztec dancer. These are images with my own group, just performing dances from different regions of Mexico. This is from state of Veracruz. Again, this is me as an Aztec dancer with my little boy, who is now 38, Lalo Jr. But so these are costumes that I designed. In this particular photo, we were doing a vigil for the victims that died in 1985 in that terrible earthquake that we had in Mexico City. About 300 dancers got together, perform, pray for the victims, and this shot was taken at that time. Then there's again other photos of just different dances from the different regions. This was my introduction to sacred artwork. Martinez and Murphy was a company based in Los Angeles, specializing in sacred art and liturgical environment. Again, this opened a whole new life in me and reality that completely changed my life. This is within this company in 1985 that I was hired as an in-house designer. This is where I had the opportunity to design the vestments for John Paul II on his visit in 1987. Very young, that's me, but basically that's I'm putting together the chasuble for him that he actually wore at the Mass in a Dodger Stadium. This was basically done with pieces of garment as you know, LA is very unique because we have basically all the cultures in the world. So the diversity of cultural individuals that we have, it's from one block to the next. We have Olvera Street, that is the core of Mexican people. You cross the street, we're in Chinatown. And then we have Little Tokyo, and then we have Little Italy. So the concept here was, how do we depict, in his chasuble, how do we depict the community of Los Angeles? We got the idea of asking the different parishes in LA to donate garments that represented their own countries. And I used that as a rainbow in putting them together in both mitre chasuble stole that truly represented the cultural diversity that we have in Los Angeles. So that was the concept behind, and again, that's basically what the vestments looked like for him. I think he loved them, so because he wore them. And actually the chasuble, the mitre is in permanent exhibit at the Cathedral of Our Lady of the Angels. So if you ever get to go there, you can actually go into the Papal Chapel, and you will see the mitre there, which is I was sharing with Pam. It's very difficult to explain the feeling that it's a relic and I'm still alive. It's difficult to digest at this point. This is another stole that I designed for him the same year. This was for the mass that he had for all the bishops of America at the San Fernando Mission. And so my task was basically to design, again, a stole that represented the place where he had this conference. So I went into the mission and just depicted images, paintings that were on the wall of the mission, and then transferred those into the design of the stole. And again, those you can see at the San Fernando Mission in California, where he left them. So they're part of the collection there. See, here I go into dance again. Because that was 1987. And then in 1988, this tour happens to, with Linda Ronstadt, Canciones de mi Padre. Again, me being very passionate on both areas, I was invited to be part of her tour. And so I toured with her for not only this tour, but the following. So I worked with her for 2 years. So these are just pictures of the tour that we did with her. Yeah, that's me out there. I actually did get to dance with her. So for me, it was nice. But once I left the company, once I left Martinez and Murphy, like any other artist, I had to pay my bills. So I went into doing all kinds of commercial artwork, from designing logos, posters, you name it, wherever I got a call from, I would just try to tackle it as an artist. So these are logos that I did for some of the best mariachis of the world, Mariachi Vargas, some of the other groups of other musicians in the Los Angeles area, covers for Christmas shows. This mural and the two paintings on the side are in the parish Santa Rosa de Lima, which is my particular parish, where I done all my social service, you might say. But this is very special because it was my very first commercial now as an independent artist. So it's about a 30-foot high mural of the resurrection, and those two paintings on the sides are 9 by 10 feet. And following up other churches that I've done now as an independent, St. Bernard of Siena, again in the San Fernando area. These are all shots of the same parish. a mural in Eucharistic Chapel. This is about 11 feet by 22 feet high. All the in church, the gold leaf is extremely important. So all this yellow that you see is actually 22 karat gold leaf that I did, and it's been used. This is the Cathedral of Our Lady of the Angels, very contemporary. I don't know how many of you have been at this cathedral, but I love the architecture, and I think it did us at the end when you see the work that I'm producing now. It influenced me a bit, or maybe a lot. I love the line work, love the architecture of Rafael Moneo. I was invited to be part of the arts committee before the cathedral was built. So I joined the committee in 1997. So I actually saw this cathedral being built from the bottom up, and it somehow it complemented me, the work that I'm doing today. I was honored to win the commission to design the shrine of Our Lady of Guadalupe for this cathedral. I would say it's probably the biggest window as far as work is concerned to the world. Still a very young cathedral. But so this image, you can actually see it from the freeway. The 101 freeway welcomes everybody into the city. This is a close-up of the image, which is done in Talavera tile. Talavera tile is it's a tile that can only be produced in Mexico, and almost every church in Mexico has work done in Talavera. It has a domain of origin, meaning that only in the state of Puebla this process can be done. So it's very unique in the process, the style, but you can feel Mexico whenever you see a Talavera piece. If you get a book, sometimes a phrase or a line can change the whole story, a whole concept. It's been done throughout history. Well, they happened to me. What I mean is that I went to the city of Puebla to do this work because I wanted somehow to bring a little piece of Mexico into Los Angeles so people could experience by looking at it and feel the presence. I wanted the shrine to be done with Mexican hands, with Mexican soil, Mexican glazes, so that we would feel that. Now, it's called, one of the names in Puebla is called Puebla de los Ángeles. Puebla de los Ángeles. The city of Los Angeles is called Pueblo de los Ángeles. So one vowel completely changed my whole concept, because when they wrote this story on the book, it said Mexican artists wanted to use all the materials from the Pueblo de Los Angeles. So now it became LA, forgot about the city of Puebla. And so sometimes in writing something, it just happens. But if you take the tour, they'll say Puebla with an A, not with an O. But just a little thing that I wanted to share with you. This is the inside of the plaza, where I depicted the apparitions that tell the story of the apparitions of Our Lady of Guadalupe to Saint Juan Diego. And so you go from the beginning. In most paintings, you only see 4 apparitions, but in reality, there's 6 apparitions. The ones that it's always neglected, is the apparition to Saint Juan Diego's uncle, who is Juan Bernardino. But the importance here is that Our Lady reveals her name not to Juan Diego, but to his uncle Juan Bernardino. and basically that's the first miracle of Our Lady when he cures his uncle, and he's depicted at the very end. So, and the sixth apparition becomes really when she reveals herself to the world, to us. So I wanted to depict all six of them in this particular shrine. So if you get to go there, it's you can actually walk through the story of the apparitions of Our Lady of Guadalupe. This is the main shrine, the triptych. Guadalupe had always been depicted with her favorite son, su San Juan Dieguito. And my proposal here was to represent Our Lady with all her children of the world. The mural that's on the left, I named it the Angelinos mural. And Angelinos are a salad, including my kids. I wanted to depict every child there that's depicted really has at least 4 different cultural backgrounds. It's very difficult today to find an Angelino that has a straight line of one root. It's difficult because of the diversity that we have in Los Angeles. So that was, and it wasn't really difficult. I went to my child's school and they were all there. But again, the idea was to somehow see yourself being represented in this mural. When you go see, you can see a child with this background. That's me. I'm here with my lady. There is one very special face there that I don't know if you can see. I'm going to walk out there. I'm going to pinpoint it. You see, we always talk about inclusion and being included. Children with Down syndrome have the same features, doesn't matter what country they're born. And I wanted them to feel included. And so that's the reason I depicted and included that child, so that Wayne can come to this mural. They're not Angelinos, they're not from any other country. They will see themselves being part of this cultural diversity that we have. That to me was very, very special. And it got a lot of attention too. She was all over the news, but it was great. But yeah, so this is the main shrine. The only 2 individuals that have a straight line culturally are the 2 angels. That the one on the left, Spanish. He had Spanish mothers and Spanish grandmothers. So the Mexican angel that I depicted, which represents the encounter of the 2 cultures and the birth of the mestizo, the birth of the Mexican, the two cultures together. That was part of the concept in the presentation of this of the shrine. These are just other. Once I did that shrine, well, I've been blessed in the sense that I've done at least about 15 different outdoor and indoor shrines to Our Lady, and that has made me even more Guadalupano than I was when I was born. These are just different depictions now in my style. This is the baptism of Saint Juan Diego. The three friars on the left, the orders that came to Mexico: Dominicans, Jesuits, Franciscans. The eagle that you see on top, that's Saint Juan Diego's name in Nahuatl, Cuautla Toatzin, he who speaks like an eagle. So we're beginning to see a lot of symbolism, because that's in works of art with religious content. Symbolism it's extremely important. I can have something really beautiful, but if it doesn't have the symbols that can speak to you, then we don't have that connection. We don't have that conversation. And so symbolism is extremely, extremely important in every works of art. Also, same parish there. We have his baptismal area with the river of life and obviously the Holy Spirit. In this particular church in the city of Oxnard is known for it's like Strawberry Valley. Uh, and here the priest wanted me to depict Our Lady amongst the strawberry pickers, but he never thought I would use this style, but he did love it. This gives you an idea of the size of the mural. It was 13 feet high by 23 feet long, done on canvas and then adhered to the wall. But again, it was a way of, of someone trying to represent the people, that they can have that connection. One particular conversation that I had with one of them was, it's touching, and it keeps transforming you and making you more responsible. But there was a lady who, when we unveiled the mural, she was in tears, and she comes to me and she says, I knew I wasn't crazy. I knew I wasn't crazy. And I said, well, why were you crazy? And she said, well, everybody in the fields think I'm crazy because the minute I go in the morning, I start singing, and I sing all day long. And you depicted me on the left. There is me. She was so happy that she was depicted with a group of singers. She said, see, I know I wasn't crazy because now I'm even there. Okay. But those are some of the stories that just make you feel happy, that somehow, even sometimes without thinking, you connect with them, and they make it their own. And it's because every time they see that mural, they'll see themselves represented in the work. This is a mural that's 10 feet by, again, 25 feet long. And this is in a hospital, an Adventist hospital in LA. And it's the Good Shepherd. But on the lamps, as you can see, because it's a hospital, I got the idea of just putting bandages on the lamp. A few things. One, to remind the personnel, doctors, nurses, that their job is to take care of their patients. And the other one, as we see this, is that knowing that we will be taken care of. The little lamb that Jesus is holding, I think it would be very easy for a child to identify that, because probably when they took their pet to the vet, a cat, a dog, that they can embrace, they would see that they would be taken care of. So the message was about caring, taking care of, whether it was the doctor to patient and the patient feeling I will be taken care of. I'll share a very tiny little story for this mural. Because it's an Adventist mural, they don't have religious imagery in the hospital. And at Religious Congress in LA, which we have every year, a whole family came to my booth. And they said, my grandma was at the hospital last week. And we saw this mural, and we knew it was yours. And we knew, which is true, that I depict Our Lady of Guadalupe in every single one of my paintings. Sometimes it's very obvious, sometimes it's hidden, but she's present in every single work of art that I create. And they knew that Our Lady of Guadalupe was somewhere in that mural. So the family went looking for the mural. And it's one, you might, I think we can see her. She's hidden there. They found her. And so instead of going to the chapel, they gather around that mural and they pray. And what do you say? It's just it's touching. But then you know how responsible and how important is to create works with religious imagery and the symbolism. So that makes you extremely responsible when creating works of art with religious content. That was one beautiful story that I mean, I still remember, very touching. And this is one of the last pieces that I've done. This is in Lakewood, Washington. Again, a shrine to Our Lady. This parish is in the Bakersfield area of Joseph's Shrines. Actually, this piece faces another shrine in front of the image of the CWLP, the poster that I share with you, the image. So they're both in this particular chapel. This piece I wanted to include because this was my beginning. If you can see the date, 1998. I was beginning to get out of the realism. I was trying to move away from the primary colors and trying to find a style that I would express myself better. So this were beginning. So the line work, you can see it's not that clean yet, but this was one of the very first pieces that I try in doing in trying to find a style. This is now some cultural images now with a style that I started developing in 2000. So the style is very new, only 24 years old. So these are now just what I call easel work, just paintings that I created on my own, not commissioned work. My first pieta, but if these are my very first ones, but if you can still see I can't get away from the facial expression. I mean, the face is still not a circle, and you can see Mary is still not. I'm not there yet, but this is the constant journey of it. Same thing here in this Guadalupe. You can see Juan Diego still struggling as an artist to find myself and see, okay, where am I going? Now this one, now you see the circle. And one of the reasons that I wanted to use, or that tried to use faceless images is, we all have our own personal image of what the apostles might have looked like. Photos of saints that, or images of saints that we don't have real photos of. So this would help us in a way somehow put our own face. At the same time, it's probably contemporary, but Octavio Paz once said, behind the old, the new is hidden, and in the new, the old is made visible. It might be old, but it's not, because if when you look at the Byzantine iconography, the faces are all the same. They don't have expressions. So the story is told through corporal movement. So yet it's contemporary, but yet it's very old, and so those two things kind of influence my line of work into what I'm doing. And my interpretation of the Last Supper, this piece cost me a lot, about 4.5 years. My challenge here in doing this kind of work is making it simple. And how do you make something simple where you're dealing with 13 figures? It's very difficult, but so it was very, very challenging to do this particular piece. There's 3 of them, but this was difficult. And again, my whole idea was just remembering when my mother used to send me to the market to get a picture of the Last Supper. I would bring back a calendar or a postcard, and if it wasn't Da Vinci's, it wasn't the real Last Supper. It was just simple as that. And basically, she would get the picture and they'd turn it and read the back, giving thanks to our food. And that was it. There was never a connection with the Eucharist. There was never a connection with Mass, the First Communion. There was nothing. It was just, thank you, God, for the food we received today. And so this work I'm trying to, or my idea is to somehow reconnect us with all these events that are so important in our faith, and that can make somehow we can reflect on it, that we can meditate on it. The same thing with this crucifixion, trying to do something from a different angle. Again, so we can connect ourselves, and that we can see the work represent our own generation. Who's going to compete with the great masters? Nobody. But I look at them, and yeah, they're great works of art, but I don't connect with them. So hopefully, this work that I'm doing today would be my contribution to contemporary imagery in faith and culture, and be in the diverse world that we live in. My contribution with my Mexican culture, that's my part in doing so. Again, they're universal imagery, but then they become personal. The parable of the Good Shepherd. Sometimes people don't see it as, but when I tell them, well, these three are my sons. The two on the side, the three on this side are my daughters. The two on the left are my sons, and the two in the middle are my granddaughters. And that's me. I am the shepherd, but we have been, we've been shepherds, but also we've been lambs. We've been taken care of, and so when they see this, then they start thinking about, okay, who am I still responsible of taking care of, and by somehow including my own personal story into a parable like this, it's very easy for them to then reconnect and meditate over the subject matter. Creative light. This in Spanish, I mean, the richness that we have in our language. In Spanish, to give birth is to dar a luz, to give light. That's the term we use. Dio a luz. She gave light. And how beautiful it is, Jesus is the light of the world. So the title of this piece is Creator Light. I also don't like to use the common names for a lot of the pieces. I like to engage the viewer even from the title itself. Why? Here's Jane Paul with his two favorite Madonnas, Shostakovich and Guadalupe. In the background, we see this coat of arms, cross with them. And Sihualpillito Nansin in Nahuatl, which the one that I sent to Pam that is distributed amongst. Again, this was sort of my idea of how I see Guadalupe coming down from the heavens to Tepeyac, where she appeared, and the Aztec angels depicted that playing traditional instruments that the Aztecs used, just percussion instruments that I use as a dancer. And that's how I feel that she was welcomed when she came down from the heavens to Tepeyac. So I leave you with this image. I hope I didn't confuse you. Thank you.
Hello? Okay. That was beautiful. Lalo and I had an opportunity to have a nice conversation before we came to be here with you today. And I'm glad that you were able to pull a lot of that out of it. And I am very glad that this particular image is up on the wall, because much of what I heard, much of what I see and I saw, and then what I heard him say, and then I even saw it further here, is how he transitioned from a very traditional image of Our Lady of Guadalupe, as you saw in the early images. And also it was part of his early life. That's how he interpreted his culture. He lived his culture. And now he's using a different style of art, to try to reach a younger audience. And I think this particular image really says that. It shows the very detailed image of Our Lady of Guadalupe that I grew up with in the Mexican culture, and that many of you are familiar with. And then he's surrounded by the contemporary faces of the natives and even the style of the flowers of the roses, which are also very symbolic of Our Lady of Guadalupe. And I'd like for you to talk a little bit about that, especially the idea, and in fact, I don't have it with me, but my cell phone, without even thinking about it, has Our Lady of Guadalupe sticker on the back. And that's just something that I have to carry with me always, her image. And he told me a really beautiful story about how he carries Our Lady of Guadalupe, and you can see in that one image she showed in the hospital how she's hidden, and how you place her in all of your paintings, right? Tell us about that story about how she's with you always, and when you, without even realizing it, you'll see her throughout your day.
Well, again, I cite a lot of Octavio Paz. Another quote that he said, he said, maybe not all Mexicans are Catholic, but I can assure you that all Mexicans are Guadalupanos. It's a movement. To be a Guadalupano, it can be cultural, historical, activism, and definitely our faith. But it's, Mexico would not exist without Our Lady. Our Lady would not exist without Mexico. So for us, Mexicans especially, but I might say the whole continent, this is why she's the patroness of the Americas. It is because of her that Christianity came to this continent. So she's the patron of the Americas. So it's extremely, I would say she is the most important Maryann icon. And obviously represented Mary, of course. But if it hadn't been for her, we would have never known about Jesus. I mean, she is the reason that we are Catholics. And her face, again, like in that picture that I showed, both images of Mary with John Paul, there's only two, those are the only two images that we can recognize automatically without any other symbols. The Black Madonna from Czestochowa and Guadalupe. I can depict one eye, I can paint one eye of Guadalupe, and we will know who she is. Aside from paintings from other Madonnas, you can cut the face and you won't know who she is. Whether it's Fatima, Lourdes, I mean, you don't know. But her face is extremely, extremely special. And this is why all, this mystery that even today, books, songs, poems have been written because of this mystery of Our Lady of Guadalupe. For me, it's being a Guadalupano always, but I share the story of when I was doing the Shrine of Our Lady of Guadalupe for the cathedral in the city of Puebla. And after a while, when I was doing other chapels, people there would say, why are you so Guadalupano? And I said, well, she's always with me. Everywhere I go, she's with me. She accompanies me everywhere. She protects me. She looks after me. She looks for all of us. And they look at me kind of strange. So I made a bet. I said, look, I will give, there was about 80 employees. I said, I'll give you $100 to any of you who do not encounter her on one day. And I never spent a cent. All of a sudden, they realize that she's everywhere. I mean, they was here on a wall, as a statue, and a pillow, and a candle. She's everywhere. So without even looking for her, she's there with us. And she's one image that we don't see her up in the altars. She's not unreachable because we can take her for a walk, for a jog. We take her to the gym. Nobody will get offended if I have a T-shirt, if I have socks, if I. She's very. We all have a very, very intimate, personal relationship with Our Lady. You know, the image that you have there is probably prettier than the one I have, right? Because she's yours, and so we have that personal conversation with her that is very close to us that we don't have with any other image.
I just want to give a personal story. When I'm a PC grad, and when I first came here my sophomore year, I was here for a full year. I felt like I was the only Latina here, actually. And it wasn't until my sophomore year when I finally went to the chapel and had asked, I really would love to celebrate December 12th, Our Lady of Guadalupe. And so we arranged to have that happen. We had a mass in Spanish. We invited the whole school. Everybody came, and it was beautiful. It was really beautiful. And for me, it was the very first time that I really felt I was part of the PC campus. So Our Lady of Guadalupe really left me centered and made me feel like I was part of the campus. Now, unfortunately, that was the night before the Great Fire that you all know about. And so that night just kind of disappeared. But you're right, it's not until she comes to the campus in music and in spirit and then physically that I finally felt that I was I belonged here, that I was part of this. I also would like for you to talk about, you have a message to the young generation, and part of it is through your art and also through your music and your dance and in performances. What message are you trying to relate to the younger generation through your art?
Connection, to feel represented. That's, I would say, my contribution as an artist is to create awareness and to create works of art for this contemporary generation. This particular image, again, the traditional image, I mean, you know, she appeared to St. Juan Diego. Nobody can touch her. It's beautiful, gorgeous. But the same thing that happened with the Last Supper, I see it happen sometimes with the young generation, with this traditional image of Our Lady, where they see her, but it's just there. They don't. There's no meditation. It's an emptiness. The curiosity of looking at something like that, it's different. And by being different, you know, they somehow will stop and study her and begin to see different things, or maybe not see everything that they see on the original one. But my whole idea is for me to engage them into the different images that I create, or the different events, different saints. But it's somehow to look at it and contemplate and meditate and to renew a faith. So this is somehow a renewal. If I was to describe my work, what is it? It's a renewal of faith. It's a renewal of culture. And every once in a while, I mean, look, this is why we have 4 stations. It's the earth renewals itself every year, and we need to constantly be doing that. So we do it by reading, by hearing, but we also can do it visually. That's me. That's how I express myself better, through the visual arts. And so through visual imagery, that's been my ministry. That's what I'm trying to do. And hopefully I'm doing that with the work.
I also want to not forget that you started off as a performing artist. You were a dancer. That was really your passion for a while.
For about 20 years physically, but I'm still engaged in that. But you know, I was saying about the Aztec dances, not only those, but any pre-Hispanic dances, indigenous dances, is not really a performance. It definitely is not a performance. It's a prayer that we do. the purest way that we can pray, body, soul, and heart. We don't need an audience when we do those types of dances, because you don't need an audience when you go pray. You can you pray at your home, in your car, at chapel. We don't need anybody, because it is a connection that we have with God. We either ask or we offer, but it's very personal, it's very intimate. It's by us. And so as a dancer, that's how we pray. And this is why it's so beautiful, the celebration to Our Lady of Guadalupe, because when we see all these different types of dance companies come to dance in the festivity of December the 12th, they're not there for your applause. They're not there to exhibit themselves. No, that's the way of coming to her and pray to her. This is why, again, her feast is so unique, it's so colorful, and there's not one alike in the world. We all celebrate the feasts of our patron saint in our parishes, but Our Lady is celebrated on December 12th. Every Catholic parish celebrates Our Lady of Guadalupe. So it's enormous, and it's full of energy, full of faith. But again, being a dancer, and actually that's how I got to know Our Lady. My in-depth research to Our Lady of Guadalupe was done in 1984 for the 1984 Olympics in Los Angeles. That there was a competition to represent the Hispanic festival. And I created a suite of Aztec dances. And so I researched Our Lady, and I just became in love with her. And I found myself, as a Mexican, I just found myself historically, culturally, and within my faith. I mean, she is everything. I mean, she is the heart and soul of Mexico, and she became me. So I'm extremely passionate with this image, and this is why I put her in every single one of my paintings. She has to be present. But again, it's part of the folklore that we have. Whether you're a singer, a dancer, a musician, a poet, she is extremely, extremely important in that sense.
I'd like to open it up for any questions from the audience.
I think
Or
we have
any
time for
comments?
one or two questions.
Comments?
Mr. Garcia, I got a question. Where do you look for to find creativity, and like, how does it transcend to you?
Scriptures. I never had formal training, academic training, you might say, but I love reading. I love research. I started doing it in my dance company. So that transition to doing it in sacred artwork, it became very easy for me because I love to read. And so my way of reinterpreting that, I'm sure you've done a lot of essays, right? And we can remember way back, maybe in junior high school, when they would ask you to read a chapter, and then the teacher would ask you to do an essay. Do it in your own words. And sometimes it was difficult. You would just copy it. But anyhow, but you were asked to reinterpret that in your own words. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm not using words, but I'm using images. So what I read, my research, then is translated through imagery. That's how I rewrite. And that's part of sometimes the advice that I give to children, young adults. If they were to write a word and then show it to class, they would think about that word. Well, when it comes to painting, the same thing, especially in this area, is that you really have to think, okay, what am I going to paint? What is the message that I want to give you or give to the audience? But again, my inspiration comes comes through reading and mostly comes from scripture. This is like church. Nobody sits in the front pew.
Oh, thank you so much for coming. It's been wonderful. Your work is beautiful. I'm learning or relearning Spanish right now, which was part of the motivation of coming, but I love Our Lady of Guadalupe, and she was very special to my dad, who's passed away, but today's his birthday. So I always see that connection, you know, and I just wanted to ask if the clothing that you have on, did you also design that, what you're wearing?
No. This actually, again, being involved in dance for so many years, I love the Mexican costume. It's so diverse too. Even in my home state is divided into 4 different regions. Oaxaca, the state of Oaxaca is divided into 7 different regions, meaning that, I mean, the music, the clothing, the food is different. So the diversity that we have in Mexico is immense. This comes from my area in Michoacan, from a particular city called Tzintzuntzan, where a lot of the people go for the other day celebration. But this is very, very typical of that particular city of Tzintzuntzan in Michoacan, and it's done by the artisans there. It was probably done up to here. I sat there for the whole day while they finished it. It's carrying, you know, the artistry of the artisans of my home state. So I just love to wear them.
Lalo also has brought images with him that he's willing to sign for those of you after the event, and please feel free to take one of the Our Lady of Guadalupe images cards that we've left there on your seat with you when you leave. We do have refreshments available, and I ask you to join me one more time in thanking Lalo and Marta for joining us.
Well, thank you. Gracias.